YouTubers. I am doing some videos. The Lord really spoke to me in earlier part of September. I was just praying and asking the Lord, what do you want from me in this season of my life? Like, what do I need to be doing, Lord? And one of the things that He spoke was He wanted me to do some videos of my testimony and just some things He's walked me through. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to share how I come to know the Lord, and we're just going to go from there and see how the Lord leads this. So when I was 13, I made a profession of faith, and I was in the Baptist church, involved in a youth group for several years. But it never, when I prayed, it never really changed my life. And I had this constant feeling like this need that I needed to continually pray the sinner's prayer, because I had this nagging doubt that I still was not saved. And I just remember I couldn't really pray because I felt like I was hitting a brick wall, and it was just a constant battle for me to always feel like I needed to continually say the sinner's prayer over and over, and I never got a breakthrough. And so, of course, I didn't stay in the church long. I mainly was focused on the boys, actually, just to be quite honest with you. And then by the time I was 19, from 19 to 23, I had had 2 kids out of wedlock with 2 different dads, and I married my daughter's father. And we were in and out of the church for a while. I mean, we would go for a while and then not go for a while. But the same thing, it was a constant battle continually with me. I would try to go to Bible studies. I try to do all the things that Christians do, but I never really had assurance of salvation. It didn't matter how many times I prayed, and by this time I'd probably prayed that sinner's prayer hundreds of times. Anytime a pastor said it in a service, I prayed it. I prayed it at home all the time. I would just lay in my bed sometimes and just be so upset that I didn't feel like I didn't have assurance. I could not say beyond a shadow of a doubt if I died, I was going to heaven. And I just got angry, and I just felt rejected, and I turned away from God. At one point, I finally just said, enough is enough. I started looking at other Christians as liars. I was like, they have to be lying. This whole, relationship, this whole encounter that transformed their life, I don't understand that, because I've been praying and praying and praying, and it's never happened for me. So either 1, they are lying, or 2, the Lord just doesn't want me. And so I turned away from God. And my husband and I just began living a life of sin, partying, doing things that married couples should never do, and brought things into our marriage that was not conducive to keep a marriage together. In fact, it destroyed our marriage. And so we ended up divorced. And then I met Bobby, my current husband. We moved in together, and we began having some demonic activity in our house. We would hear things walking up and down the hallway, up and down the steps. The boys were seeing figures in their room. It was terrifying them. When I would go downstairs, I would find knives all over their room. I'll never forget one time when I was in the garage, and it was early morning. I had not woke the kids up yet for school, and so they were all sound asleep, and I hear this terrible sound upstairs where the girls would have been. It sounded like a piece of furniture had fallen over. Someone take a big stack of books and just slammed them on the ground. So I go running upstairs, not knowing what happened. Of course, everyone is still asleep. There's nothing out of place. And these type of things continued to happen for a long time. And we didn't know what to do about it. It just happened. And so then I started having demonic dreams. And I'm not going to go into details on all the dreams. I'm just going to talk about the last dream I had, because the last dream is what set things in motion for me. So this last dream that I had was the most petrifying dream of my life. I had a dream that it was like it was weird, because I was standing above this church, and I was watching myself in the church down below. So I was 2 people in the dream, and I was watching myself. I was demonically possessed, and I was watching myself torment people. And my kids were playing in like this serpent's den, and they had these baby snakes all over them. And I just remember my mom coming up to me, and she was like weak and limping or sick. And she was like, Amy, I got to go now. My body is tired. And it was like the church opened up, and she left and went to heaven. She disappeared. But when she disappeared, those snakes went full grown. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm absolutely terrified of snakes. I mean, do not come near me. An alive snake needs to be a dead snake. Well, I picked up one of these huge python-looking snakes, draped it around my neck, and kissed it. My kids are now playing with full-grown snakes, and you could just sense the evil in the room. And I just remember like the Amy that was like the spectator that was watching this happen became one with that demonically possessed Amy. And it was just showing me that I was no more. Like I was now just this demonically possessed entity that was tormenting people. And I woke up from that dream screaming and crying. I feel my body was physically hurting. It was awful. I didn't know what to do. I scared Bobby to death. And I just knew, like, when I woke up that this is some type of warning and I needed to get to a church. And then I started thinking about the week before, and I was having these crazy, demonic, like, suicidal thoughts. Of course, I didn't know it was demonic then. I know it is now. But I would just be driving down the road, and this thought would hit me that would just, it was almost overwhelming of, everyone hates you. The world would be better off without you. Just take your car off the side of this cliff, or drive your car into that tractor trailer. I mean, just crazy stuff. And it'd be every day on my way to work. And so I'm thinking about all this after I wake up from this dream. And I'm like, I've got to get to a church. This is a warning. And so I go to the church I was previously associated with, which was a Baptist church. The church me and my ex-husband had been a part of. And I go there because I didn't know where else to go. And I remember I pull in, and I'm sitting in the car for like 15 minutes because I can't get out of the car. I'm paralyzed, scared to death. I was angry with God. I didn't want to be there. I just felt like I had to be there. And so I finally get in the church. And by the time I get in the church, I am trembling. Like I can see my hair like shaking out of my peripheral vision. I can't talk. And I'm just shaking all over. So they go and get the pastor, and he just walks up to me, and my mom had already pre-warned him I was coming, I'm assuming, because she went to this church. And he just laid his hands on my shoulders, and he started commanding the demonic oppression to leave. And then he asked me, he was like, are you saved? And I told him the whole story when I was 13. I was like, but I've never had assurance, always doubted. It doesn't matter how many times I've said the sinner's prayer. I've never felt like I was saved. And so we walked through that whole thing again for like the 1,001 time for me. And of course, it didn't change anything for me. And I knew I had to go into the service that I didn't want to go into because I was so upset, and I was still trembling and angry and just not wanting to be there and just not understanding why I couldn't get saved. And so the closer I get to like the sanctuary doors, my knees are trembling. I feel sick at my stomach. I just don't want to go in there, but I go anyways because my mom's in there and she knew I was coming. And I just remember like when I got in there, I couldn't hear the music. It was like everything was blocked out for me. All I heard were voices in my ear telling me how much God hated me. You need to get out of here. You need to run now. And I just kept like looking for the exit doors. Like, how do I get out of here? Where are the exit doors? And I'd been to the church 100 times, but it was like overwhelming voices telling me to run and to get out of there. Of course, I didn't run because then that would draw attention to me and my mother who was there. So I waited till the service was over and I left quickly. So I get to my car, and by the time I get to my car, I am like screaming profanities at the Lord and just cannot believe that after all this and him allowing me to have this dream that he still wouldn't save me, and I'm still dealing with the same struggle I've always been dealing with, and that, you know, I just want to die. Just take me out of my misery. Please, just let me die. And I get home, and that night I ended up blogging about it. And some of my Christian friends saw the blog, and one of my coworkers. Well, I get to work on Monday, and she had brought a CD player into my office and brought some CDs that she had, and she had them all like with Post-it notes on them, like 2, 4, 6, whatever, just different numbers on them, and a stack of cards. And so she comes in there and she was like, this is what you're going to do. She said, you're going to put this music in and you're going to listen to exactly what I've put on here, the numbers I've told you to listen to, And when you leave today, you're going to put this in your car. And this is all you're going to listen to. And she said, and when you need a word from the Lord, you're going to open one of these cards. I was like, okay. So that's what I did. And, I had people reaching out to me, several people who reached out to me and, tried to help me based on what they had seen with my blog. And I just remember feeling like I had to defend myself. I knew I was living in sin. I had knowledge of Jesus. I'd been in and out of church. And I was like, just thinking to myself, there's no way, like, I'm going to go marry this guy so that I don't live in sin, because I've tried to get saved like 1,000 times and he don't want me apparently. So I'm not going to change who I am just to try to get saved again, because it's probably not going to work anyways. And so I had this defense on with these people. And I just remember one person, he's like, look, I'm not asking you to change anything. You don't have to stop smoking and drinking and all this stuff you're bringing up. Just come to church on Sunday. So as the week went on, and I began opening those cards, like fear would hit me, or something would happen, and I would open a card. Every time I opened one, it would be exactly what I needed for that moment. And I just really began to feel the Lord pursuing me for the first time ever. And so I started understanding, okay, so maybe this will work for me. Maybe he really does love me. And so those cards, that music, it was instrumental for me. And it just helped me to begin blocking out some of the voices so that I could hear the Lord. And so I decided I'm going to church on Sunday. I have to go. I have to try one more time. And by the end of the week, I remember just praying and saying, Lord, please just help me. Just open my eyes. Give me one more chance. Just let me see who you are. I don't know why this is happening to me. And Sunday comes and fear struck me like crazy. And I began doubting again. I'm like, if I go, the same thing's going to happen again. And if I go and the same thing happens again, I know I'll kill myself. I just know I will. I can't live like this for the rest of my life. I just can't. And something inside me said, just open another card. And so I did. And it was Isaiah 41:10. And it said, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I just remember when I read that, it just overwhelmed me. Like his presence, just comfort and peace just hit me suddenly. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. So I go to church that Sunday, and I walk in and the voices were gone. And the music was exactly what I needed to hear that day. And it was amazing. So then Pastor Steve Ross began preaching, and he starts preaching out of Acts 26, and he's talking about King Agrippa and how King Agrippa was almost persuaded to be a Christian. And he starts talking about the reasons why he wasn't persuaded. And he says, he saw what it was costing Paul. Paul was standing there sharing his testimony in chains, and he wasn't willing to sacrifice that he wasn't willing to give that. And he wasn't willing to give up his sin. He was living with his sister Bernice in an incest relationship. And so he's just going through all of these things with King Agrippa, and how King Agrippa was, he was enticed by the story of Christ. He had seen the crucifixion. He knew what had happened. It all had happened recently. But he wasn't willing to commit his will to the Lord. He wasn't willing to let it cost him anything. And I just remember hearing that and just whoosh, it was like a flood of revelation. Like, that is you. Like, your entire life, you have liked the idea of Christianity. Like, I've liked the idea of wanting to go to heaven. Who wants to go to hell? Come on. You have to be crazy to want to go to hell. And so I knew, I believed in heaven and hell. I believed in God, and I believed in Jesus, and I wanted to go to heaven. But I never was willing to commit my will. I was never willing to let it cost me anything. I was never willing to sacrifice anything for it. I just wanted this magical transfer, and I wanted him to do it all, and I wasn't going to give anything of myself because I wanted to maintain control of me. I didn't like the thought of anyone controlling what I did, or telling me what to do, should I say. That's probably a better phrase. I didn't really understand, and I was like, I'm going to hold on to me as tight as I can because I can't lose who I am. So when this revelation hit me, I was like, that's it. This is my problem. Like all this time, I've not let go of me. I've not been willing to give of me. And so then Pastor Steve Ross starts, he decides to take us on a journey through hell. Imagine that. So he's like, we're going to take an elevator ride and we're going to go to hell. So he takes us down this elevator and we walk down this corridor of hell, and he's introducing us to all these people who did not make a decision for Christ. And at the very end of this hallway he walks us down, we find King Agrippa, and King Agrippa is there screaming, I was almost persuaded to be a Christian. And I just remember when that was over, I couldn't get to the altar fast enough. And I remember saying, Steve, I need to be saved. Like, I know what my problem is. And telling him, I was like, please pray with me. And so I prayed, and it forever changed my life. And I've never been the same ever since then. And I came home, of course, had to tell Bobby we're living in a sinful relationship. And I knew that, and he knew that. And I was like, okay, here's what's happened. And here's the direction I'm going in, Bobby. Like I'm going forward, full force, 100% this way, and I'm never going back that way again. I would like for you to go with me, but if you don't want to go with me, I understand. But regardless of what we do, this cannot happen anymore. These are the rules. Until we make a decision on what we're going to do, and if we're going to get married, there's no more living in sin for us. This is not going to happen. I can't now. And so he understood, and he made a decision that he was going to go in the same direction as me and follow Christ. And so we got married shortly thereafter. Now, another key thing that we had to do, because I had demonic activity in my house. My mother came over and we cleansed my house from top to bottom. And then I went through my house and got rid of everything that I thought was an open door to the enemy. Everything that I thought could have a demonic entity attached to it, we destroyed it. So I destroyed movies and music and adult material and statues, and whatever I felt like needed to go went. And I'll never forget poor Lexi. We had just bought the entire series of Charmed. We loved Charmed. And she was little. I don't even remember how old she was, but she was devastated when I told her we had to destroy it. And she was like, Mom, but please just let me take it to Dad's. And I was like, no, Lexi, you may not take it to your father's. We must burn it. So we did. And it was all gone. And, you know, I don't know how long it took her to understand, but, you know, she received the Lord shortly thereafter on Mother's Day. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was on Mother's Day. And then Isabella also. And so all my kids came to know the Lord. And it's been a great journey. So the great thing about a testimony is it's never ending. It's always going, and this is just the start of my love story with the Lord. And I'm going to have more videos to follow, however the Lord leads and whatever He decides that I need to share with you guys. So I just wanted to share the start of my story with you and let you know that if you need prayer, if I can help you in any way, if I can just talk to you, if you just need someone to talk to, I'm here. So message me. You can message me on Facebook, Amy Roberts Bray, and I would be glad to talk with you and pray with you and help you in whatever situation that you're in. So that's my story, and I look forward to connecting with you. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see where the Lord leads next. Have a great day.